Hey everybody, it's Oz again. So here we are, episode 3 in the series. So this one, I don't know how I'm going to handle this one, to be honest. This one was weird. One of the weirdest that I had. So, as I said, I was living with my parents at the time. We had good friends that we hung out with a lot. We spent a lot of time with them. We would go places, go on trips, do things with them. I have family that lives in southern Vermont. So one day we went up to visit my family in southern Vermont, northern Mass, northwestern Mass, and southern Vermont. We wanted to visit some people. So we went up that way. We picked my aunt up in a small town called Adams, and we headed up to Vermont, to Bennington, to visit another cousin of mine. We hung out for a while. We joked, we laughed, we had a blast. I was feeling kind of normal at that point. I had a boot on, a restraining boot, to try to heal my my leg. It wasn't a full hard boot. It was more of a soft kind of neoprene thing to try to encourage the growth but allow my leg to move more. Now, up to that point, since the second head injury, I had been in a full boot. The boot went from my toes up to my knee. It was hard plastic. It had to be put on every day. It gave me stability. It allowed me to walk some. I still required a cane at that point, because that was the only way that I could hobble around and make it places. But again, through the help of my parents, through the help of our friends, we had decided we couldn't let this get me down. I had to enjoy what life I did have. So, like I said, we went to visit friends, or we went to visit family. So we were coming back. We stopped at a place called the Moonlight Diner. As we were getting out of my friend's van, I went to step down, and I put my cane down to give me that added support, basically, a third leg, if you will, so that I could step down without getting hurt, without falling. Well, that didn't happen. Now, it was a little chilly. We were getting toward, I think we were getting toward the end of fall. It wasn't quite winter yet, so we didn't have snow and ice on the ground, but it was chilly. It wasn't a really nice day. Well, down I went. And this time, instead of the back of my head, I slammed the side of my head. I can't remember which side, guys. I'm sorry for that. I can't remember which side it was. But I did. I ended up slamming the side of my head on the ground. I went down. Again. I was out. Again. Apparently I was out for a very short time, maybe 30 seconds, something like that. They were able to wake me up. They were able to get me into the diner and sit down for, at that point, it was dinner time. So we were sitting down for dinner. And by this time, because my father had had a head injury, and now at that point I had had 2, my mother and our friend, who was a nurse, knew certain questions that you were to ask someone who may have a head injury to see what their ability is, to see how bad this head injury was. So they began asking me the questions. Who are you? Where are you? What's the date? Who's the president? Who are we? This is where it gets kind of scary, guys. I'm in my 30s at this point. I'm not a kid. I'm not some young child, 4 years old. I'm a full-grown adult. And they ask me who they are. I was with my aunt. Now, my aunt has been there for me my entire life. She's always been good to me. I love that woman to death. She's my Aunt Cookie. Some of you guys who might be watching this might know her. And if you know her, you know what she is and how lovely of a person she is and how fun she can be. She's indelible. Once you meet her, you'll remember her for life. I didn't know who she was. I didn't know who our friends were. I barely knew my own parents, apparently. It scared them. And even as I sit here years later, thinking about it, it scares me to know that something so seemingly innocuous could cause me to forget the people who were there for me my entire life. It was hard. It was really, really hard. It still is, to know that that could be what could happen to me in the future. I could just forget everything and everybody. So they decided as we were sitting there, apparently we hadn't ordered yet or anything. They decided to bring me to, again, the local ER. Now, this was up, like I said, in Northern Mass, and the only ER up there, the only hospital close to where we were, had been closed down. The ER had been reopened for emergencies only, but the rest of the hospital was closed due to budgeting and things like that. So I was brought there. I was brought to the hospital. My parents and everything drove me. We got there. I believe I was brought in a wheelchair and rolled into the ER to get seen. Now again, I can't tell you exactly. I just know what I was told. But apparently, on the way there, I had something called pseudo-bulbar aspect disorder. What that is uncontrollable emotions, but not just uncontrollable, the incorrect emotions for what's happening. So it's something along the lines of, if there's something that should make you sad, instead you would have maybe a reaction where you would laugh at it. You would find it funny. If it's something that should be funny, it will cause you to be sad. It could cause you to be angry. It messes with your perception of emotion. Well, apparently on this ride from the diner to the hospital, which was maybe a 5 or 10 minute ride, I was laughing like a maniac. They likened it to the Joker in the Batman movies and series. That maniacal, awful laugh that he has. And apparently, not only was I doing that, tears were pouring down my face. I was crying my eyes out at the same time. I'm laughing so hard, apparently. I was having problems breathing. But I'm crying at the same time. I'm having two different desperate emotions at the exact same time. And it scared everybody. Everybody was very frightened seeing what was happening to me. So I was wheeled into the ER finally. I was brought in and I was looked at by a doctor. Again, from what I understand, the doctor did his examination. They were told what happened to me, this doctor. And I was then brought in to a small room where I would be seen and where I'd be kept for the remainder of the time I was there, which apparently was less than an hour. My parents said it was not a long time, and you'll understand why. So this doctor, he takes my mother aside. And what he says to her is, he's faking it. Nothing happened to him. It's not real. He's faking it. Now guys, my parents were there. They saw me fall. They knew about the prior incidences. They had seen at least one of them. They saw me in this condition for this length of time. It had been less than a year. I was already on my third head injury in less than a year. I was knocked out 3 times in less than a year by this point. My brain was scrambled. But this doctor is telling my parents, telling my family, it's not real. He's faking it. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do at this point. We're stuck. What do we do? You know? How do you deal with that? How do you deal with a doctor telling you that nothing happened to you when everybody there saw it? Well, this enraged my parents. Luckily, I will say this, Aunt Cookie didn't hear about it till afterward. Otherwise, she probably would have thrown a fit. Any of you watching this know Aunt Cookie? Know that. She would throw a fit, and she would not allow me to be treated that way. But what do? You need to be there for the person who's hurt. And my parents felt that the best thing at that point was to get me out of there, get me someplace safe. So again, I went home. I was done with what I could do for the time being. My parents brought me back home. I went through the same things again. I went through the not being able to focus. I went through the depression got worse at that point. The migraines were still there. Nothing changed them. It was just as bad, if not worse. I can't really say for sure. I just know things were not good. It was at that point, winter was coming, and that's when I started developing agoraphobia. Now, for those that don't know, agoraphobia is the fear of leaving your house, the fear of being out in public at all. I was to the point where I was afraid to go outside, because if I went to a place like Walmart to go shopping and there was a patch of ice that was this big, you know, maybe a few inches big, to me, it expanded. It took over the entire parking lot. I couldn't get out of the car. I was afraid to fall. When I did go into places like Walmart or anything, the sounds, the lights, everything going on, it affected me. I had panic attacks. I had anxiety attacks. And yes, they sound like, okay, a panic attack and an anxiety attack. They're two different things. They really are. An anxiety attack, you feel set upon. You feel like everybody's looking at you. You feel like you are the center of attention and that everybody is looking at you, judging you, thinking there's something wrong with you. And you know there is at that point. But you think that everybody else can see inside you. A panic attack is almost like you feel like you're having a heart attack. Your chest constricts, your breathing gets tough, you have a lot of problems just functioning physically from these things. And that was my life for a good amount of time. Anywhere I went, I had to put earplugs in my ears because sounds were too much. I had to wear very dark shades, if not put on a literal eye mask to cover my eyes because the brightness was too much. I would go into Walmart, and you guys know how high the ceilings are in Walmart. I could hear the hum of those fluorescent lights, and it affected me. It made my migraines worse. It made my anxiety worse. Physically, I was at this point moved from having a cane because it was felt that at this point I would be too unstable on a cane to having a walker, a wheeled walker. It was at that point that my parents started looking into possibly doing something for the front stairs to keep me from falling again. So yeah, there I was. I'm now in my 30s. I have a walker. I'm homebound. Even getting up in the morning to go to the bathroom was get up, fold out your walker, walk into the bathroom, go to the bathroom, go back to bed. Walking around the house, we had to make sure there was room that I could get around with that walker. And I stopped going places. At that point, I stopped going places. My fear of falling again, my fear of causing more damage to my already scrambled brain was too much for me. And I stopped. I totally stopped going anywhere. And it got to the point where not only did I stop going anywhere outside of the house, any place away from my property, there was a point where I stopped going outside of my house at all. I would only stay inside my parents' house. I would not go anywhere. I barely left my room. I barely left my bed. And it wasn't because I couldn't. It wasn't because I couldn't physically, I should say. It was because mentally I couldn't do it. I was too afraid of what was going to happen to me. So this persisted for a good amount of time. And again, this is number 3. So we've got 4 more to go through. And I'll be working on them over the next couple days. I'm hoping to have everything up by the 15th of all 7 head injuries, because I want you guys to have the full scope of what happened. Now, some are going to be longer like this, some might be shorter, because the details of other ones kind of get mismatched. They kind of get mixed up. The longest one left will probably be number 7. Number 7 was bad. It's going to be very emotional for me. So guys, please bear with me when I get to it. Understand, I went through a lot with that one. That one was the one that really made things different for me and for my life. So anyways, guys, again, like I said in the last video, this is Brain Injury Awareness Month. This is the time for me to do this, because people need to know what brain injuries are. They need to know that it's invisible as a disability. You can't look at a person and know they have a brain injury for the most part. But even though it is all in your head, it's not all in your head. It is in your head because that's where your brain resides. But you are not faking it. Trust me, you are not faking it. No one would ever want to fake this. It's an awful, awful thing to have. So guys, just understand, when you see somebody that's having problems, it's entirely possible that they have a brain injury. Guys, please subscribe to my page. Please like my videos. Please take a minute, leave a comment. I want to hear from you. I want to understand where you're at. I want to understand if my stories are touching you, if they're making you understand who I am, who people with brain injuries are, who people with disabilities are. And please, go to my Soothing Nature. That's SOOTHING space NATURE, Soothing Nature. That one, it's going to be all just videos and music, just nice kind of, I'm going to go for walks in my area. I'm going to wear my GoPro and I'm going to take videos, and then I'm going to set it to some nice relaxing music. Guys, check it out. I got a few up there right now. I'm working on more. Content. I know how important it is, and I'm working on getting there. So just bear with me. But guys, thanks for listening again. I'll talk to you on my next video. I'm out. Later, guys.